Hey, it is Friday, January 26th. Yeah, wow, January. It came and went just about. It's been a wow, a lot going on around here. I got caught up in I guess the 3 minute challenge is what really sparked this. It reminded me that I had a list. I had multiple lists around at various times of songs that I felt like I should have been able to play. And I thought, oh, you know what? I play the same like 5 or 6 songs all the time, like every week. It's the same couple of songs. Well, anyway, then I found these like three lists, and they all had like 30 or 40 songs on them. Now, many of the songs overlap, so there probably were only a total of maybe 50. And these go back to songs I learned when I was a kid, like Last Steam Engine Train. But I think even take In Christ There's No East or West. That one I played at the beginning. Well, to kind of cut to the chase here, I thought, oh my God, there are a bunch of these songs that are just in terrible shape. I can't even remember. Just the other day, I tried to play this. That's the beginning, right? No. Yeah. And I got this far, and I thought, oh man, the next chord, it's something really weird. And I finally dug it up. No. Yeah, and the next one. And the next one. It took me like 5 minutes to reconstruct those chords. And then this one, before it gets into... And I realized I probably hadn't played that in about a year, or at least probably a year. And I used to play it a lot. That's Josie, of course. So instead of like working on the lessons I've been trying to get together for you guys, I took out these lists and I started going down them. I even yesterday went into, I tried to play, I'm not going to do it right now, got to retune a few strings, and that'll take up too much time. But what else was on the list? Linus and Lucy. And I thought, oh man, there's another one I haven't played in a year. So anyway, I've been consumed with resurrecting songs. What was another really rusty one? Who Done It? Wow, pretty close. Getting better this time. Let's see. Pretty close. Anyway, so I got to go practice that one a little bit. But the first part came back together. Anyhow, so my point is, have a table of contents of songs that you should, or at least a list of songs that you want to try to keep in shape over the next 6 months, and make sure that like every 2 week period, they all get looked at. That's my first piece of advice. I don't think I mentioned the first song I played. This was one. It was called "Shadows of Molokai," and I don't think I have a real recording of that anywhere, but not yet. I got to make another album. I have too many leftover songs. There's another one that forgot the note. one's called Idlewild. I got to get back to a lot of songs in shape. I should be thinking about getting in shape for a concert. I haven't done that in many, many years. What's coming up? Maybe camp is coming up in April. That'll be my excuse. I'll have to have a lot of songs in good shape to play by April. So, what I wanted to really talk about today, did I have any big news? Oh, we did. Nesh put together a cool lesson on... I can't remember my solo version. A sing-along, well, a version of Ferry Cross The Mersey that it is really how to play it and like sing it, unlike the solo version I've been doing. As I probably told you, I'm working on a lot of instrumentals lately, and not too many songs that just where you just need chords and to sing the song. But that does bring me to a couple things that happened in lessons this week. So this is going to be our theory talk. It's going to turn into theory talk. Some of my students really rely on looking at the music to something, or looking at the chord chart, or looking at, even worse, looking at something that has the words and the chords over the words. As if you followed me at all, you know I hate that. I don't like to do stuff like that. That's why all my charts, except for one, have the chart an independent thing and the lyrics as a separate thing, because I think it really helps you understand the chord progression and the phrasing, how the measures are laid out. Take Me Home Country Roads. You just got to remember there's 5 measures in the second line. That's really unusual. Otherwise it's a 16. It's a 4x4 matrix but there's an extra measure of, depending on what key you're playing in, of chord 1 in the second line before he jumps into the third line. Little things like that. They can help make it easier to remember things. And so what I've done this week, this happened with about 3 or 4 students, over the last couple of weeks it's happened with 3 or 4, where I turned the music stand away from them. And I said, you know what, you have to learn this by ear, not by sight. And whether it's a song like a very simple song, 1-4, 1-5 progression, that you should just recognize. Your ear should tell you that's 1-4, 1-5, and if it's in a weird key, then you start thinking, wow, those chords seem to fit my open chords. Well, then you just got to figure out where they might be capoing it so that it's playing normal chords. And so instead of being in E flat there, if I had my capo at the 3rd fret, I'd be playing it in C. Where I'm going with this is, if you figure out a song by ear, there's a really good chance you'll remember. Well, not only will you remember it, you could remember it forever, because you'll be able to figure it out by ear again if you forgot it. And so with a couple people, I was talking about, well, let's see if we can figure out the chords to a song that you've never played before, and let's take an approach here to where what I want to do is play the melody and see if you can figure out what the chords are. So first you have to be able to hear when it might change chords. And the song, one of the songs that I worked with a student on this was Puff the Magic Dragon. And the strategy here was, okay, we're going to do it in the key of G. That's the key most people would play it in. And if you just start singing it, do 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 do, you can hear, oh, do 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 do, I need a new chord there. Okay, I can't stay on a G chord anymore. And so the first approach is just randomly play a bunch of chords. Do, 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 do. Okay, it's not B flat. Do, 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 do. A minor, it's not A minor. Wait, the first thing I should do is figure out what chords are in the key and use those as my starting point. So you got to know, you have to be able to list the 6 primary chords in the key, and even remember that chord 7 would be a diminished chord, because there's a possibility, a very slim possibility, it's going to happen in the song. But you always want to at least have it on your list of potential chords for something that could happen. So now we think about the chords in the key of G, and we're going to get to this, we're going to do a little algebra with this too. So that, in the key of G, my chords are going to be, chord 1 is of course G major, chord 2 would be A minor, chord 3 would be B minor, chord 4 would be C major, 5 would be D, and of course always on 5, the dominant chord, I could think about using a D7. 6 would be another minor chord, E minor. And 7 would be, first of all, it'd be an F sharp, because our G scale would have F sharp in it, a whole step from 6 to 7, E to F sharp. And that's where we have a diminished chord. And that's where we could play the little diminished 7 chord shape up here with an F sharp on the top. That would be a possibility for, anyway, it's not going to happen in Puff. So, but the next thing is being able to figure out the notes that you need a chord for. So if I play the melody to Puff, first measure is nothing but G's. And you can hear, okay, well, so a G chord works there. Do I want to change chords in the middle to another chord that has G in it? Probably not. But I always want to be able to figure out what other chords would have that note in it. So it might come back to the note G, and I might hear that it's not a G chord. Well, the first approach to that is knowing that every chord is made up of 1, 3, and 5 in the scale, or from that root. And that means that every note, any given note in the key, will be the root of one chord, the third of another chord, and the fifth of another chord. So if I take the note G and start working my way through the chords that would include G, the chord that's going to include it as the root is, of course, G. Well, rather than just start playing chords and seeing what other chords include G, I can do the math and figure out, well, what the chord that would have it as the third, the root for that chord would have to be 2 notes lower. So I work my way back through the scale 2 notes before G. I get to E, and I know that the E chord in this key is chord 6, so it's E minor. And sure enough, in E minor I have G's. There's an open G in there. I could play the high G if I wanted. So there I've found the second chord that includes that note. To find the next chord, the last chord for now, I have to do the same thing. I'm going to go backwards 2 more, because what I want to do is find the note that would be the root that would have G as the 5th. Well, that chord would have E as the 3rd. So I just have to go 2 more back before E, D, C, and a C would be the other chord that would have a G in it. So anytime I come through that song, or anytime I'm looking for a chord that has the note G in it in the key of G, there's my choices: G major, E minor, and C major. Okay, well, let's just digest that for a second. There we have the melody. So now if I start thinking about what I need for the second chord, I find the melody note. And I find, oh, it's F sharp. I need a chord that has F sharp in it. Well, my first approach is look at, and I might have, in this case I have 2 notes in this measure. It goes from F sharp down to D. Those are 2 notes that are a third apart. That means there's a chord that has both of them in it, maybe a couple. So if I look at the first chord, my first choice here would be the chord that has F sharp as the root. Well, that would be our diminished chord. Doesn't seem like it works. So now I want to think, well, what chord would have my F sharp as the 3rd? I have to go back 2 notes. That takes me to, got it? D. A D chord has D and F sharp in it. That means that would probably work. Works for both notes. That's great. But let's consider all the possibilities. F sharp is the 3rd of a D chord, but I could also look at the chord that would have it as the 5th. I'd have to go back 2 more before D for the note that would make D the 3rd and F sharp the 5th. It gets me down to B. The B chord in this key is B minor. Bingo! That's how it goes. Can you hear that? That's the chord we need, B minor. The next melody note is an E. Okay, I'll let you figure out the rest of it. But what I have one more extra credit on this. If we start getting used to thinking about these algebraically, meaning I'm on note in the key for puff, it starts on note 1 of the key, which is also note 8 of the key. Well, regardless of the key I'm in, note 8 will be the root of chord 1, our tonic chord. It'll be the third of the note of x minus 2 of chord 6. Chord 6 will always have note 8, or our tonic note, root of chord 1, as the third. And that same reverse counting process, the chord that would also have it as the fifth would be 2 before that. That would be chord 4, which would be C. So if you can think of these numerically, if you know you're looking for a note, whatever key you're in. I'm in the key of E, and I'm looking for a chord that has F sharp in it. Well, F sharp is note 2. So I know it's going to be in chord 2, which happens to be F sharp minor. It would be the third of chord 7, which would be D sharp diminished, or be the fifth of chord 5, which would be B. Okay. Might have to go through that a few times, but meanwhile, sorry, just got a little carried away. Playing a chord progression that had a bunch of secondary dominants in it. I went from G to E7 to A7 to D7. Okay, I think that's all I had to say today. Just want to talk about Nesh's new lesson, and I'm going back to practice a bunch of my old songs. I've played a bunch of these for you lately. Okay, that's enough. Stop. Call it a day. Don't go into this bossa nova. All right, I got to call it a day. I'll be back. Oh, it'll be February 2nd, coming up. And the Saturday after that, which must be the 10th, COA meeting. So, COA folks, stay tuned. I have some other news for you too. It'll be watching your email boxes. Okay, so long.